It is natural and innate to humanity, and essential to the preservation of humanity, to maintain the love of 9 things. 1. Freedom. 2. Truth. 3. Beauty. The love of freedom, truth, and beauty is the divine trinity of being human. You don't need theology, and you don't need religion. This trinity gives everything that any religion could ever offer or claim to offer. 4. The love of innocence. And 5. The love of pleasure. These two go together because the Anthropos is a playful and ingenuous species. 6. The love of learning. And 7. The love of sharing. These two go together. They complement, enhance, and enrich each other. 8. The love of power. This is not power over others. It is power through others and with others. But it is power over others when it comes to the challenge of defeating the enemies of life. So know your power and love your power. 9. The love of mystery. Love the mystery of life, and you will always find your way in life. Love the mystery of your own self. How mysterious it is that you even have a self in the first place. When you love the mystery, you are drawn deeply into it, and you learn the many wonders it can teach. The mystery invites you, and it guides you. These are the 9 loves of the Anthropos. Oline, and salutations once again to the Truth Core, whoever and wherever you may be on the planet. And may you come to know yourselves as you truly are. This is yours truthfully, recording on the 5th of July, 2021, in a follow-up to the 3rd Public Sanity Alert. Ultimate triumph over the Soviet regime. The 9 loves of the Anthropos is a kind of recitation, you could say, a formula that I initially presented, I believe, during the Gaia navigation experiment, going on some 8 or 9 years ago now. My intention in this talk is to elaborate a little on the 9 loves of the Anthropos, and to relate those points specifically to what I said in PSA 3. So, here it comes. If you listen to PSA 3, you'll see that I made a distinction between A10 and A11. A stands, of course, for Anthropos, which is the human species, which is the spectrum of races of animal life in human form that derive from a single genomic template. The term human race is a misnomer. There is not one human race. There is one human species propagated in a spectrum of human races. Now, you might have occasion, based on what I said in that previous talk, to reflect on the difference between A10 and A11 and to place yourself in that paradigm. You would do well to do that. I do it all the time. And the truth of that proposition, the differentiation between A10 and A11, is what you see happening in the world today, in the apartheid of the Soviet regime that is based on the difference between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. It couldn't be clearer than that. The evidence is there in the historical circumstances of our time. It's in your face. While it could be said that when I introduced the concept of the mutation of A11 as central to Sapphire's correction many years ago, it could be said it was abstract, it was occult, it was something coming from some remote realm of teachings and concepts and assumptions derived from Gnostic materials in ancient sources. But it is no longer that. It is no longer that. Today, it is the evidence in your face. It is the evidence on the face of those who wear muzzles as a symbol of their compliance to terminal enslavement and the ruination of their lives. So no one has to theorize about A10. You see it everywhere. And the phenomenon you're seeing is technically called apoptosis, which is a biological phenomenon evident all through nature. It is simply the shedding of dead cells of any organism, be it microbial, be it a two-legged or four-legged organism, be it an insect, a snake, or a fish. Apoptosis is a reality of nature, and apoptosis is now in high acceleration due to Sapphire's imperative, due to her intervention, with the intention of mutating a new strain of humanity within this divine experiment. Of course, as you know, as you may know, as you certainly will know if you're a savvy and observant animal, there's another plan for mutation underway, isn't there? It's a plan, my friends. It's just a plan. And the way this plan has been announced to humanity makes it appear as if it's inevitable. Those who are promoting this plan and attempting to implement it want you to think that it's inevitable. It cannot be any other way. This is the way humanity is going. This is the way it has to be according to the transhumanist narrative. What am I talking about? Well, obviously, I'm talking about the alien-human hybrid, the neural link between the human brain and AI or IT technology. Now remember that the living gnosis today tells you that there is no such thing really as AI or artificial intelligence. All intelligence is alive. That which is not alive, that which is a computer algorithm or program, is not intelligence. It is only a mimicry of intelligence. So AI stands for archontic intelligence, which is not alive. I indicated in the previous talk the distinction between mRNA, the spike protein, and maternal RNA, the mutation of the Aeon Sophia. This is a perfect example. The spike protein, so-called, is not even a protein. It is an archonic simulation of a protein. It is a liposomal nanoparticulate coded in a computer and then converted into an archonic construct called the spike protein. It's not alive. It is not a genuine living microbial entity. It is an archontic implant. It's clear by now to more and more conscientious animals, observant animals who can use their faculty of property and critical thinking, that the spike protein is a bioengineered weapon. The implementation of it occurs through direct injection into the human body. It is not a cow punch, which is a translation of the V word. No. It is an artificial, mutagenic implant. Now, even the manufacturers say this, and I realize I take a risk by saying what they themselves say, something that is widely broadcast, even through the mainstream media, and even through the medical information inserted in the product. And it is a pharmaceutical product. So what do they say? They say that mRNA is an agent of gene therapy. That's a laugh. This is the kind of therapy that perhaps you wouldn't opt for if you had the choice. And of course you do have the choice. As I say, and as you know well, it's a risk even for me to say this, although I'm quoting the authorities themselves, the medical authorities. There's a risk that the authorities would come after me for saying what they themselves say, isn't there? Well, they're welcome to do so. Hell, who knows? Maybe it's even time for them to do so. But I can assure you of something. If they do so, they risk a backlash of momentous proportions, like nothing they have ever seen, nothing they are prepared to face, and nothing that they can defeat. I don't merely speak for myself in these talks. And that being so, the risks of opposing or censoring me are not ordinary risks. Are the authorities ready to take on those risks? We'll see about that. Whatever the case, I can assure you that those in the world today, in the transhumanist cabal, who assign to themselves the role of superhuman handlers of humanity, do not and cannot know what happens when they actually confront the raw power of the supernatural. The archontic enemies of life, those psychopaths you see in positions of presumed power around the world, are truly monstrous. and they are monstrously stupid. Now, as I had occasion to return to the 9 loves of the Anthropos, that beautiful formula, it also pointed me back to something that I wrote in the foreword to Not in His Image. I described some difficult moments and some brutal realizations that I had as a teenager that I certainly could not handle at the time. And I wrote, I was in a terrible fix quite early in life because I was repulsed by actions and attitudes that were normally regarded as admirable. In particular, religious righteousness and moral rectitude. What the world at large considered to exemplify the best in human nature, I found to be deplorable. Living with this conflicted feeling, I came to realize that something is extremely difficult to define, namely, how humanity stands in danger of betraying itself through what it holds as its highest ideals. I wondered how such a weird proposition could be true, how the self-betrayal of an entire species could actually be effectuated in that way. End quote. Well, my friends, I can assure you that I wonder no more, nor have I wondered for quite a while. I know exactly how the self-betrayal of humanity is playing out. And so do you. So do you, if you observe what is happening in the world today due to this horrific crime against humanity that is now in progress. All that being so, I feel the necessity, in the perspective of time, to say that the 9 loves of the Anthropos are theoretical for A10, but they are existential for A11. In other words, they are the loves of A11. They are what define the character of the new humanity in this mutation. And everything that is happening to A10 to bring about their elimination from this experiment can be summarized in the 9 propositions of that formula. What is happening to A10 is happening precisely because they do not love those 9 things. If they had loved them, if they did love them, every moment and every day of their lives, none of this could ever have happened. And it is they who betray these 9 loves who are responsible for this happening. They have allowed it to happen by not observing those 9 loves. I don't think I have to go into detail to elaborate here on the proposition. I mean, just look at the first one, freedom. How could anyone who really loves freedom comply with the measures being taken today under the pretense of protecting the world from a monster microbe that has never been proven to exist and which, in fact, proves to be an algorithm, a program written in a computer in January of 2020 by Christian Drosten. Go research it. The quotation from Dostoevsky says that beauty is mysterious. You can also use the word sublime. Beauty is sublime. It is also terrible. And this is the terrible truth of beauty, that if you turn away from it, it destroys you. I guarantee you that. Not you, to whom I speak now, because I make you an exception in the friendship of strangers, but certainly anyone who turns away from the beauty and who betrays those 9 loves will be destroyed by that denial. Such is the bottom line of what's happening right now all over this planet. I call the Shaktas those who are devoted to the Aeonic Mother, the living earth, our immediate source of life. There is also a remote source of life called the originator by the Gnostics. But you cannot get to the remote source of life in any meaningful way unless you go through the immediate or local source of life. So that is the first experience of the divine, recognition of the immediate source of life. Your breath is a prayer to her. Every time you breathe out, you offer a prayer to your Divine Mother. And every time your breath returns, she returns the favor. She returns the act of recognition. Shaktas live in the continuing and deepening knowledge of that exchange. It's an exchange of joy, of gratitude, and empowerment. Now, if you'll bear with me, I'd like to devote the rest of this talk to a kind of profiling of those who will survive in the beauty to come. Those who will live through and are living through the mutation to A11. I want to emphasize in the first place that it's quite likely that some of those who will survive into the beauty to come will have played no significant part in getting there. So they're the lucky ones, because they benefit from the victory over the Soviet regime without having played a significant part in achieving that victory. And there will be some like that. So I see, all in all, 4 categories. And they go like this. The first category is the pariahs. So this category applies to all of those who survive, who were actually complicit in the crime against humanity in one way or another. They may be complicit at executive levels. In some cases, they may be complicit in the most trivial and banal enforcements of the authorities in ordinary life. So they are the accomplices to the crime, and some of them will survive. For instance, the talking heads of the mainstream media. They are the pariahs of the future. They cannot appear in the world to come without being detested and hated. They're the outcasts, and their chance of having a life worth living are extremely slow. One of the characteristics of the change in human nature that comes about with the mutation to Anthropos 11 is that the human animal becomes more ruthless toward those who are complicit in harm and deceit. So there's no mercy and no forgiveness for this category. And what will become of them, I cannot say. But they are not going to be able to live with others who consciously, willingly undertook this battle and won the victory by their courageousness and their honesty. But they may still be there, stragglers from the battle, and their life can only be a life of misery, a life of being total outcasts, with no one to feed them, no one to console them, no one to help them. The next category includes those who were not accomplices. They were victims. Call them victims. And they suffered terribly from the machinations and deceit and attack of the Soviet authorities. And some of them will survive, even though they played no significant role in winning the victory. Well, their situation will be, let's say, dubious, at least. And unless they show some willingness to admit that they did not contribute to the victory, and they are not willing to become part of bringing back beauty and creating the society to come, well, it's impossible to say what will happen with their lives. Their role, their fate, is extremely unfortunate. And no one who actually risked their lives in winning the victory has any obligation to them whatsoever. The third category consists of those numbers of people who fought for this victory on whatever terms. Or more specifically, those who fought on the terms that they deemed right, the terms that they saw necessary in a life or death situation without knowing the elite Gnostic intel and without having an intimate and actionable bond to the Earth Mother. So, of course, they are heroes. They're the heroes of the next world. And in their way, in their own way, whether they know it or not, they're examples of the future mutation of humanity. They are the living proof of the mutagenic event of Sophia's correction. And they know each other as such. And they celebrate that achievement joyously. One of the characteristics of the change in human nature, in the beauty to come, is that no one who fought this battle and won it ever takes their liberties for granted. Ever. No one ever trusts the authorities again. No one ever accepts the dictates of the authorities again. So those in the third category are the sovereign individuals of the future, whether or not they have the benefit and the privilege of the Gnostic intel, which I present to you over and over again as best I can. And as for the fourth category, well, you know what that would be, don't you? That is the category of those who fought and won the battle, knowing that they are the allies and intimates of the Aeon Sophia. They know the dyadic formula. In correction, she does her part. In resolution, we do our part as Shaktas, devotees of the wisdom goddess. And those two actions are reciprocal and complementary. The unity is truth. Truth is unity. And the unity of those who survive in the beauty to come can be expressed in the 9 points of this formula. To embrace consciously those 9 loves and to hold them as the foundation of the way you live, that is the unity that secures the triumph over this vile and hateful crime. In concluding this talk, let me emphasize for you once again the imperative significance of what's happening right here, right now. You are engaged in a divine experiment, but not only that, you are engaged in an exceptional moment of this experiment when the recalibration of the species happens. So in order for the beauty to come, there must be a change in human nature. And those who make it through will not be like human beings before. They will not be relics of A10. They will be the exemplars of A11. Just imagine that you could live in such a moment, that you are living in such a moment when the mutation of humanity is happening and you're part of it. It's not the mutation planned by the transhumanist masterminds, and it's only their plan. Who asked them for what they say must happen? How you must live? You will own nothing and be happy. Simply a saccharine reformulation of one of the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto, which demands the abolition of private property. How obvious can it get? You see, it's inherent to their delusional insanity that they believe that they can impose these changes and present them as if they're inevitable, irrefutable, and cannot be resisted. That's their insanity screaming at you. But no one that I know, no one of sane mind and heart, asked them to make these changes in the world. No one asked them to reset society, did they? And they did not even ask for compliance. They believe, according to their plan, that they can enforce compliance. But to enforce compliance is an absurdity, because if there is enforcement and extortion and intimidation, there can be no compliance. Their plan is absurd, as the Gnostics warned in the second treatise of the great Seth. The plan which they have mounted against us, the revealers of Gnosis, is senseless. It's absurd. No one in their right mind would ask for it, and no one of conscientious heart will go along with it. And it's as simple as that. And that standard determines the difference between A10 and A11. So I invite you to recall the recitation or formula of the 9 loves of Anthropos 11. The love of freedom, truth, beauty, innocence, pleasure, learning, sharing, power, and mystery. And I invite you to take that formula into your lives and live it. Enjoy it and see where it takes you. Enough said. And I'll be seeing you in the beauty to come.